the same opening, just with a basic standing position. We want to be able to come here and pretty quickly sense where the weight is in our feet. And just take a moment to balance the weight through our feet. And whenever we bring the attention to the feet, we balance the weight, we're inevitably going to use our leg muscles. We want to become aware of the way they work and just that gentle but clear attaching themselves to our leg bones. In our hips, having the tailbone kind of sink down a bit so we get a little bit of lengthening in those low lumbar vertebra at the back of our waist. Just a really important place for us to not have compressed all the time. And when we set that up, there's a little engagement that's going to naturally occur here in the low belly. And if we gently rub with our fingers, we'll encourage that engagement through the entire abdominal wall. And just as we're touching the abdominal wall, let's shift the attention up between the shoulder blades and a little higher up to the neck, the back of the head, and just a feeling of lifting up and lengthening in that upper spine. And then let's go to our breath. We'll start with our fingertips low, and as we inhale, we'll come right up our center line. And lifting the elbows above the collarbones, finishing our in-breath. When we spread the arms, we're not going to breathe. And when we're ready to exhale, just having the arms come down with our exhalation. And when we want the inhale, coming up the center. So perhaps imagining breathing out through a straw, so the lips just slightly pursed. And really for ourselves, taking the time to enjoy our own breath. Okay, we'll do one more. And then if we just soften the arms, have them slightly away from the sides, and just rotating the palms forward and then backward, outward. Really just an easy movement. And then just relaxing the arms. And before we move again, excuse me, before we move again, just check the back body, the neck between the shoulder blades, back of the waist and tailbone, all those areas we're gently creating a little more length and experiencing the weight in the feet. We'll lift the heels when we wish. And when we take the heels down, we'll lift the toes. Just a handful here. So when the heels go down, just let them rest there. Let's lift our toes. And see if we can take just the big toes down. And then switching. As we go back and forth with the toes, be aware of the tailbone. And see if we can keep that feeling of it sinking downward rather than it jutting back. And then when the toes, let's just bring them all up. We'll get them all lifted and press them apart from each other. And then let them all release down. Now we're going to soften the knees a little bit. We'll take our weight to the outside edge of the foot and then bring it back in toward the arch. So keeping the knees comfortable through this movement. And then when we come in near the center, just pausing there. And then let the knees bend. Let's take some circles at our knees. So hands near the knees, on the knees. We're going to use the hands. They help the knees stay together. See if we can get the circle to kind of have its focus at the knees, ankles and hips coming along for the ride. We'll change our direction at some point. And just shifting direction every so often. And then let's come to neutral when we're ready. We're in the center. And then bring the hands just above the knees. So the fingers face inward, the elbows bend outward. And on the exhale, tuck the tailbone, press up the back of the waist, press up between the shoulder blades and the neck, and tuck the chin. And have a breath or two here where we spread the shoulder blades, we round the back, we take the belly in. And we're going to come tall from here when we inhale. When we're ready to breathe in, let's lead with the fingertips coming up. When they get near the face, take the elbows up high, pull the shoulders up, and bring the whole body up from the arms. And keep the arms unfolding, reaching tall. We'll look upward. We'll take our hips forward just a bit. And then when we're ready to exhale, the fingers and arms start. They come down in front of the face. And we're just going to melt over as the arms and shoulders go low. We'll keep rounding over. We'll come all the way back down with our hands just above the knees. And we can take our time to round the back, to tuck the chin. And we'll take ourselves tall one more time, using the inhale to start with the arms. And it's like the eyes are going to follow the fingers, the hands, and the elbows really go up there. And then everything extends, reaching up, the hips moving forward. And then to leave this place, let's look straight ahead. So we'll get the neck in a neutral place. We'll stay tall and bring the arms down. And when we're bringing the arms down, just go right into an inhale when it naturally comes and really get a feeling of lifting here at the top of the ribs. And at the same time, sinking the tailbone. Okay. We're going to move our feet wider apart. So I'm going to look for my heels around shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider where it works. I'm going to turn the feet in and bend the knees. So I'm going to tuck the tailbone a little bit. And let's put a hand on the low belly, a hand just above the tailbone at the sacrum. Move the tailbone back and tuck it under. And we'll go back and forth. And then we're going to tuck the tailbone under and then ease off just a little bit. And you can run this backhand up and down the back of the waist. I want to feel it nice and flat. And it's a place actually where we belong here through our lumbar. And then we can release the arms. Take the attention to the feet. See if you can add just a bit of weight with the big toes, the base of the big toes, and then feel the weight move back to the heel, so that inner line of the foot. And then at the knees, we have to be careful with the knees. We're going to use the muscles as if we're pressing the knees outward without forcing the joint. And then in the inner thighs, draw them into the hips. And it's like they want to squeeze towards each other and pull up. So lots of muscular activation really stabilizes the hips. So I'm going to start with my hands at the hips. And I'm just going to see if I can get the upper body to move one side, then the other. And then let's come a little higher with the hands. So we'll come to the center. We'll bring the hands up on the low ribs. And then these low ribs, right where the hands are, when you go to the side, see if you can move the rib into the hand. And then one or two more in this position, but monitor the weight in the feet and see if we can keep the weight from falling back into our heel. And then coming into center, so we can use this pause to double check the legs. And then we're going to release the arms, going to take them up. We're going to put the fingertips on the shoulders. And then I'm going to poke an elbow, one side, then the other side. And then I'm going to release the arms and I'm going to reach and reach. So I'm going to reach to the right. And now this time I'm going to look at my right hand. Now my left palm, turn it forward and all the way over and upward. And then I'm going to look to the left. And as I look, I'm going to turn it back up and turn the right one down. And I'm going to reach to the left. So there's this spiraling down the arms as we go side to side. We look at the palm that's up, that's simple. And then we turn to the other one. We'll do 2 or 3 more of these. So when we go left, there's our last, and then just come back in the center. We need a breath. The arms come up. We need an out breath. We bring the arms down. A couple of gentle shrugs in our shoulders. And then when we're ready, sweeping up with the in-breath. And now just bend the elbows, touch the fingertips back on the shoulders. And just find the legs, the tailbone, base of the big toes. And when we breathe out, let's bring the left elbow forward, the right elbow back, going side to side, turning the shoulders and the ribs, keeping the head and the hips turned forward. And then when the left elbow is forward again, release the left arm, let it extend. And then that right hand, lift it off the shoulder, just rotate the hand so the fingertips point down, the elbow lifts up, push back in the elbow, push forward with the left palm, and then we'll change sides and the arms change as we rotate. So clearly but gently press the elbow back. Just being aware that we're moving the elbow back and the palm forward. And for ourselves, we're on our last one or two. That forward hand will lift it up. And then once the right is forward, just bring the left out forward. And just holding the arms for a moment, put the attention again into checking the back body, the neck and the tailbone, the back of the head, between the shoulder blades, and then down the legs. When we're ready, we press out further with the fingers, with the palms, just lightly spreading the fingers. And then when we breathe in, just letting the arms float wide. And just find a comfortable place here. It's important we don't, as we know, it's important we look after the shoulder. So we're trying to open gently in the shoulder. So this angle we vary for ourselves, pushing forward. And we need a breath. When we need to inhale, we're going to reach up. And here again, we're pushing up, sinking in the tailbone, reaching at the back of the head. See if you can really feel a kind of a drop sensation through the hips and the way that the legs take over, engaging here. And then we're going to soften. Exhale is going to bring our arms down. Now let's relieve the legs. So shift the weight to the ball of the foot, lift the heels, and just move the heels in and bring the feet in. So we want our feet under our hips. I'm going to put my hands on my hips, bend the knees. I'm going to circle at the hip. So now the ankles and the knees, they're moving because the hip is moving. And then when we're ready, we're switching our direction. And then coming into the center, we'll do a few flat figure eights. At some point when we come into the center, we'll switch the direction. And then when it feels balanced, we'll come to the center again. I'm just going to tuck my tailbone a little bit here, have the knees a little bent, maybe come with the legs a bit straighter, but I want to keep my knees a little bent here, if that's okay. If we need to straighten the legs, sometimes we do. There's a little muscle behind the knees that when the knees are a little bent, it can start to complain. So by all means, extend the legs more, but try to keep that drop at the tailbone. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to inhale the arms out. And then I'm just going to swing them forward, gently pressing through the palms. And then once I've got those arms live, they'll go wide again. I'm going to push towards the right. Then I'm going to drop the right arm down, the left arm up. I'm going to push in both directions. I want to use this not so much to lean over, which we will do in a moment, but in the beginning to lengthen this left side and a feeling of the left ribs going outward. When it's an inhale, I'm back in neutral. You might want to just adjust the legs, just feel where you're stable and strong. If the heels are a little wider than the toes, we actually get a little more stability. I'm going to push left, left down, right up. Again, I'm not trying to lean here so much as open the right side, send those ribs rightward. And then inhale, back in neutral. Again, adjust as we need. I'm going to push right. I'm going to drop the right arm, take up the left, bend the left elbow, point the fingers downward. Now connect to the right hand. We'll bring it in the center line. Keep the left arm above the head. And now we're going to push in the palm. We'll get 3, maybe 4. And then when we do have our number, our inhale returns us, take a moment to stabilize the low body. And then push left, left down and into center, right over, elbow bends, and we're going to press. We'll do 4 again. And then inhale, swings the center. Again, tweak the legs as they need to, tuck the tailbone, push right, right arm's down, and now keep the left arm straight. And now we're going to really lean as best we can without creating any strain. So monitor the pressure in the soles of the feet, the reach through the upper palm, and then the inhale returns us. And neutral, balanced, reaching, and then down and then out. And here we lean and stretch. And then when we breathe in, we're back in the center. Okay, again, let's release the arms first. We'll inhale up, we'll exhale down. When we're ready to release the legs, lift the heels, swing them in, and just change the distance between the feet. And then let's just give the legs something different. We'll just pick up one leg, then the other. Give all those muscles a chance to work again, rather than have to be so static. Okay, and whenever we're ready to, we'll bring the leg up and we'll just open it to the side. Always, when we make this side movement, being polite to the hip socket, also being polite to the sacroiliac joint, SI joint. Okay. And then left is last. Whenever we do a left side, we're done there. We're back in neutral. We'll just play one little balance here. Let's try this one where what we're going to do is lift the big toes. So feet are quite close together, big toes off the mat. And once we've got that, keep the big toes lifted, but bring up the right knee. So both feet have the big toe lifted. And then I'm just going to take that right foot, one side, then the other. Sometimes, we really do need the arms. And then come neutral, take the foot down. Now here, before we do the other side, lift all the toes, take all the toes back down and just dig them in the mat. Just as if it were a cat. And then coming neutral. For the other side, we lift both big toes and then the left knee. And then it just swings, foot going side to side. And back to center, returning the foot. Okay, good. Now a little wider for our feet. And I want a place where I can bend the knee and I can put some weight through the arms. So this is a twist in the core. And for it to be successful, some of our weight from the upper body has to go through the arms into the legs. And especially in the lumbar, back of the waist area, it's got to feel like it's not carrying all the usual weight. Of course, the knees are comfortable. So once we've got that feeling of leaning weight, I'm going to bend my left elbow. I'm going to bring my right shoulder inward, and the right arm is straight. It's going to keep the right knee from coming inward. And I just get to look to the left and gently turn a little further. My tailbone is tucked, the lumbar flattened, gently pushing back. When I inhale, I'm going to come into the center, have a moment where I rebalance. On the exhale, right elbow bends, left shoulder comes center. I'm going to look to the right. And then in-breath is center. Let's get this once more for each side. Rolling the right shoulder toward the center line, bending the left elbow, and just looking over there at that left side. Monitoring the tailbone, the lumbar spine. So here a real feeling at the hips. Internally, there's that sinking, lowering down feeling, creating a gentle stretch through the lumbar. Back to center with our breath. And then the other side. And when we breathe in, we'll come to center. And then from here, let's inhale up. Okay, and then let's take ourselves down onto the mat. So initially, we'll just come seated. We've got our feet out in front, the hands just back of the hips. And we're going to let our knees drop one side, then the other. Whenever we do these windshield wipers, our initial concern is always the comfort of the knee. So adjusting the placement of the feet further apart or closer, the feet in or out from the hips, so that the knee doesn't feel the strain. And then we get the hip in motion. So here the knee's at the right side. This left hip is lifting, making as much turning as it needs to. And then when I take my knees over to the right, I'm going to pause there. So left hand initially to the hip and really create that lifted, turned place in the hip. And then bring the left hand forward, touch it anywhere on the ground. I'll just turn here and I'm going to explore using my fingertips. It's going to give the wrists a different position. And it's going to require that I create a little more strength in my core. And then I'm just going to look toward the right. Draw in through the center, up through the center. At the same time, a little tuck to the tailbone. So in our inner awareness, I want to be able to separate my tailbone from this whole left hip side. And we're going to the other side. So when we inhale, we soften. We're going to turn forward. I'm going to bring the knees up and just have them travel to the other side. When I get now on my left side, I want the right hip to lift and turn. And then I land the fingers, the fingertips, where they're comfortable. Little drop in the tailbone, even though there's lift in the right hip. And gently looking to the side. And then when it's an inhalation, turning to the front. Okay, we're going to release our legs. We're going to give them a little shake. So weight in the palms, legs in the air, and just let them flutter. And then I'm going to land the feet when I'm ready. I'm going to stretch them out. And again, just lightly bounce the legs. Now, if it's okay here, we're going to bend the right knee. Now, it's important to realize for ourselves that we can do what we're going to do next with straight legs. This is our big circle movement. It'll work with the legs staying straight. So if we've got a sore knee, we can easily keep the legs straight. Otherwise, we'll bend in the right. And when we bend it in, always reminding ourselves to potentially put a pad under the knee. Sometimes when the knee drops all the way down, we get stress here in the groin. We don't really want a lot of stress here. Occasionally sensation, but we're not looking for that pulling feeling. So once we've accepted our position with legs straight or right bent, we put our hand on our left leg and we sit tall and balance the weight in the sit bones. This is probably the last time they'll be balanced as we get the arm moving, but start balanced. And then when we inhale, sweep the arm to the right, bring it up, lean a bit over to the left and have the arm sweep low and in front. And we're just going to draw a big circle for ourselves. And we just let the whole torso start to move. You'll feel the weight shift through the hips. Now, when we come tall, let's take the other direction. And then when we come tall, let's pause there. We'll bring the arm up, then we'll bring both arms up. And just gently, but clearly, gently pushing up in the palms, lifting at the neck, the back of the skull, tucking the tailbone. And then when we breathe out, reaching forward, release the wrists, reach out and down. Anywhere we touch is a good place to touch. If we've got the right leg straight, we're still over here. The leg may slide in a little bit, that's okay. So whichever version we have on the legs, where we want to work is our tailbone sinking downward, back of the waist, moving backward. Use the elbows, widening at the elbow a bit to move the shoulder blade. And then follow the breath, breathing out, breathing in into the belly. And then moving the head toward the foot, just to lengthen the upper back. So we find for ourselves a place where the spine feels long, the core is working, everything feels safe. And then just melt downward. There's nothing to force, just allow the release. And then when we need our inhale, let's lead with that right arm. We're going to bring it all the way up. Okay, we'll shift the hands behind. We'll shift the weight back. And again, the legs get a little shake here. And when ready, we land the feet, open the legs. Now, either again, working with straight legs or bending the left foot in. Sometimes one knee isn't happy, so we'll keep one side straight. Being prepared to pad for the knee. So our right leg for sure is straight. The right hand touches the leg. put the attention onto the sit bones, creating even weight, that little tuck at the tailbone. And then we'll start with the left arm, inhaling out, coming up tall, reaching out over that right side, and then low to the ground, along in front. And when we come tall, let's switch our direction. And when we come tall again, just pausing there. And then bringing up the right arm, engaging the arms, lifting up, lifting at the neck, the back of the skull, just a little tuck to the tailbone. Turning a bit more so we look at that right leg, and then extending out the fingers, releasing over with our out breath. Anywhere we can hold the right leg is a good place. Nice long breath down into the belly. A little tuck to the chin. Opening the elbows to move the shoulder blades. Easing the belly into the low back. And allowing ourselves to melt down. And then we're going to release as we breathe in. So we're going to lift with our left arm. We'll come tall and shake out the legs, taking the hands back. And just giving the legs a shake. And then landing the heels. Let's just stretch the legs forward. So from here, our breath will bring the arms up. So always looking at our back body. So it's very easy now to send the tailbone in the other direction. So a little bit of tuck at the tailbone here. And a reach up through the arms. And then we'll take the arms wider because the legs are close. If we work with the arms wider, we can press outward. And then when we breathe in, coming tall again, but now softer arms. We'll get the exhale started. The arms go forward. Reach out through the back of the head. Land the hands anywhere. Let the chin tuck. So looking for that smallest bit of tucking at the tailbone, at the back of the waist. And then again, the elbows going wider, shoulder blades moving sideways. And we just want to hold a position where there's a comfortable feeling in the low back. So small adjustments as we need them. If we need to soften off a little bit, we can either straighten the arms a bit or bring the hands a bit higher. Higher in the sense of closer to the hips. And experiment with some energy in the thigh muscles, drawing the thighs in toward the hips, the low belly into the low back. And when it's the inhale, just release. Run the hands up the legs. Once we're up tall, let's bend up our right knee. And then we're going to take we'll do the open twist. Actually, we'll take the right elbow around the right knee. So a bit of contact here in the sole of the foot. The right knee pushing forward just a little bit. It's just that engagement. There it is, pressing forward, and a little tuck to the tailbone. I've got my left arm available. I'm going to reach it behind, touch my fingertips down, lift up in the back body, and then when it's an exhale, I'm going to turn the body towards the left. So the straight leg, just turn that big toe inward. The bent leg, add a tiny bit of weight to the sole of the foot. And then check the back body. Tailbone dropped, back of the neck, back of the head reaching up. And then when we take our inhale, let's move ourselves forward. So we'll bring the left arm along, and it's going to reach out and wrap around that bent knee. So now the right arm can release, the fingertips land behind. So we need to set up the abdomen here. I'm going to lean back a little bit, work my abdomen more to the right, and then close up the distance between the chest and the right thigh. Make contact through the right foot and the right knee, and the left leg turns in a bit toward the center line. The exhale is going to take me back. And when I get an inhale, I'm going to rise up along the spine. And then when I breathe in, coming forward again. So we'll bring that right arm forward. Now let's change our legs. So once we have the left leg bent, lightly but clearly press in the foot, move the knee forward, sink the tailbone. So our open twist comes first, so same elbow takes the knee. This straight leg just turns in a little bit here. I've got a free hand. I'm going to take the hand behind. I'm going to work with my fingertips, so I got a lot more movement through the shoulder. So I can roll the shoulder back, sink it down, lift up through the center. And on the exhalation, looking behind. Now on the inhalation, I'm going to turn forward. The right arm comes front, wraps around the bent knee. I want to lean back a little bit, move the abdomen over towards the left side, and then close up that space between the chest and the thigh. Left fingertips touch behind, length through the core, and the exhale to look back. Once we're looking back, become aware of the back of the skull, the neck, and lengthen tall. And then the inhalation brings us forward. So left hand comes forward. And then bring both knees up. So I'm going to wrap my hands around my knees. And when I exhale, I'm going to tuck the chin. I'm going to round the back. So it's like a cat stretch right here as we're seated on our hips. So the elbows can naturally widen, moving the shoulder blades. Even though I'm tucking the chin, I can lift up in the neck. And then on the inhale, lift the head, release the effort. We're going to do one more seated pose. So I'm going to take my left leg, I'm going to bend the knee, take it under the right. Now, let's see. If I had a problem with my left leg, I could still do the pose with my left leg being straight, right? So don't feel you have to compromise the knee. Let's set it up first with the left leg bent, and then I'll just quickly show it. So what I need to do here, the right leg is the top leg, it's the bent leg, the right foot is flat. I'm going to push on the foot, I'm going to press that knee forward, and just try that 2 or 3 times, and really get that pushed forward. You can feel that left hip is way off the ground. I want that place. So I've got my right hip up off the ground, right knee, right foot, all that strong. I'm going to tuck my tailbone right here. And then when I've got this place, that right arm pushes forward. So now I'm pressing forward here with the whole right arm. The right knee pushes forward. The hip is going forward, but the tailbone's going to sink down. So now we're deep in the hips. So stay there, but if you need the other version where this leg is straight, that left leg is straight, you can get 96% of exactly the same result in the core body. Okay, now we're going to release. So soften the arm, let the hips sink back, the legs relax. Let's unwind the legs. They'll get a little shake again. And we'll just take ourselves to the other side. So now the left leg is the one that's bent with the flat foot. You know, if the right knee is the unhappy knee, if that's the case, the leg can be straight and just a comfortable place. What I want to feel with this bent leg, the top leg, is this movement in the hip. I press the knee forward. And then keep the knee forward, the hip clearly lifted. Sink the tailbone. And then the arm becomes available. Top knee, top arm, pushing out forward, pressing the knee forward, lengthen up the back body. And experience that left foot as it presses down. And then check in with the core. We often have gentle drawing sensations deep into the belly and the hips here. And then soften the arm, release the arm, let this leg relax, undo the legs. We're going to let them have a shake. And now we're going to head on to the back. So get ourselves down on the back. And we'll just take a moment with the feet flat, the knees bent. And just feel where the lumbar is and the spine, between the shoulders, the back of the neck. And then follow the breathing, letting the breath come into the belly. And use the belly like a balloon. Make the inhale a bit longer, so we expand the belly as part of breathing in. And whenever it is breathing out, try breathing out through the lips, just slightly parted to make the out breath longer. Okay, let's reach our knees, drawing the knees in, moving the knees towards the armpits. And just lift the feet up above the knees and take a handful of circles at the ankles. We use both directions. Then we'll come still at the ankle. We'll take our feet in circles around the knee. Again, using both directions. And then coming still, hands on top of the knees. And with the hands, take the knees wide and circle them close. And then coming still again with the knees heading toward the armpits. And now bring the knees closer together. And then lift the feet up so the heels are higher than the knees. Now release the hands so there's energy in the legs. Take the arms vertical, reach for the ceiling, and bend at the wrists, rotate the arms, push up through the palms. And then bring the arms down close to the ears and push out behind you. See if you can sink the ribs, the breastbone as you do this, keeping the neck relaxed, pressing back. And then take the arms wide, not quite to shoulder height, just above the shoulders, pressing outward, the chin tucked, the neck is long, the tailbone lifted off the ground. And then swing the arms alongside the hips, just off the ground, pushing outward. And then pushing through the hands. As you breathe out, lift the head, the upper back, and press through the hands, looking down at the low belly. Push out in the palms, tuck the chin. And then bend the elbows, take the hands behind the head. So hold the head in the hands, and then relaxed in the neck, lower the head on the hands. So the hands are back on the ground, and then lower the feet. Let the feet land. So we'll have the feet side by side, the knees touching, the feet close to the hips, and then tip on the side that's toward the camera. And then we're going to have the knees for this first position just down below the hips. And then the bottom knee, we'll let it go a little lower than the right. And then drop the head back. Get the head back on the ground, looking upward. And then that lower arm, take it out from behind the head and reach down for that top leg somewhere. So we've got the head on one hand. So we've got the top elbow bent. And we're going to take the gaze slightly over, turn the head a little bit, find where it's comfortable. We're not trying to turn it all the way. And we're just using the eyes now to look for that top elbow. And inside the shoulder, softening the shoulder. See if you can relax those muscles. And then right here, let's work with the diaphragm. When we inhale, widen the diaphragm in all directions, a big in-breath. And when you exhale, again through the lips, slightly parted, so we extend the breath. And again, when it's an in-breath, widening, expanding the diaphragm. And our own timing will give us one more full breath cycle. Now, whenever you've finished 3 long breaths, take the head back to the ceiling, take the hand from behind the head. And now this upper arm, which is free, we're going to reach down by the hip. And then we're going to see if we can get the lower foot or ankle with that upper arm. See if you can bend that foot in a bit closer, grab it with the hand. And then this top leg, bring the knee up a little higher, and the hand that's holding the leg, see if you can hold the front of the knee, and maybe pull the knee a little higher by holding on the front. And then slide that hand down that top leg. See where you can grab that's low down near the ankle or the foot. And then carefully, gently start to open out that top leg. Now we're looking for a place where, although we're creating stretches, we're relaxed with those stretches. And we're having stretches, but we're not having strains. So looking for that subtle place. And helping the position with soft, deep breaths. And now we're going to leave this position first by letting go of the top leg, letting it just bend comfortably, letting go of the bottom foot. Once you've let go of the legs, bring the knees together, side by side, the knees up near the hips, and then rolling onto the back. And just pausing on the back, straightening out the spine, adjusting so the back feels long, allowing the weight in the hips to sink on the ground. Now we're going to go to the other side. So adjusting as you need. If you wish to twist around so you can still see the camera, we're going to end up though, when we're ready to move, with the legs close together, the feet near the hips. Let's put the hands behind the head. Rest the hands on the palms. And then use an exhale to tip over to the other side. So once we get to the other side, we've got our knees just below our hips, and then the bottom leg goes a bit lower. And drop the head back toward the ground with the gaze upward. And then that bottom arm comes out from behind the head. And that bottom hand takes the top leg somewhere. Now we're going to turn the head a bit to the top arm. Not trying to turn it all the way, just an easy position for the head and the neck. And use the eyes to look towards that top elbow. And then let that shoulder, arm, shoulder blade relax. And then we'll work with the diaphragm. So a nice full inhalation, diaphragm opening in all directions. When we're ready to breathe out, extending the exhale through the lips slightly parted. And whenever we finish our exhale, just taking the gaze back up at the ceiling, moving the hand out from behind the head. So with this upper arm, when we're ready, we take it down near the hip and we see if we can hook on to that bottom foot. And then the upper hand, reaching around on the front of the knee on that top leg and pulling the knee in a bit closer. And then sliding that hand down that top leg, seeing where we can comfortably hold. And then gently extending the top leg out. So being prepared to adjust our shoulders, our shoulder blades, keeping our neck long and comfortable. And a couple of big, deep, gentle breaths. And as we finish our exhale, let's soften and release the legs. Let the knees come side by side again and move the weight onto the back, the knees coming up, and adjust the spine. Now we're going to go back to the other side again. We use the same entry point where we have the feet near the hips, the legs touching, and the hands behind the head. So if we lift our elbows, we'll just roll over onto our first side. And for this work, we're going to keep the knees straight forward from the hips and the knees on top of each other, the feet on top of each other. And we're going to try to keep our hips one on top of the other. So we need that bottom arm from behind the head. The bottom arm again is going to reach down and hold somewhere on the top leg, or even you can hold both knees, right? Wrap onto the front of the knees. Once we've got that bottom arm working, we're going to just let the gaze go up toward the ceiling. And then the top arm, it's free. We're going to reach up for the ceiling, and then we're going to bend the wrist and rotate the arm and push up through the palm. Now lower the arm just down beside the ear, and then press out through the palm. Now, as we push through the palm, the top hip, gently move it downward just a little, away from that upper shoulder. And just enough so we can start to feel a stretch, not a strain. The chin's tucked, the neck is long. The tailbone tucks a little bit. And then let's open the arm out to the side. It's our own place, but it's about 45 degrees. As we press outward through the palm, we're going to allow that shoulder and shoulder blade to sink down. So a gentle pushing out, so a sinking down can occur. Now with the arm out to the side, the top hip would like to drop back. So monitor the knees. And then let's soften on this arm, this top arm, and bring it back up vertical. And then once it's up vertical, turn the head back over to the side. So the side that's on the ground. So the head is in line with the chest. The top arm, bend the elbow and put the palm flat just above the head. So the elbow, this top arm is bent, so my bicep is just above my ear. And here I'm going to gently press outward, upward through the elbow. Actually, we're going to make another adjustment just to get ourselves more square. My lower arm, I'm going to take it off my knees. I'm going to put it behind my head so my head can rest on it. I'm going to come up on my bottom shoulder. That's the correct position now for the chest and spine. Okay, so I'm going to press down through that palm, that upper arm. I'm going to push upward through the elbow. That top hip's going to drop away from the elbow a little bit. Tuck my chin a little bit. And then I'm going to take my gaze towards my eyebrows. And then open the mouth and reach the tongue toward the navel. So there's just a little tuck of the hips. Feel the navel. Imagine touching it with the tip of your tongue. Still looking for the eyebrows. Press down on the palm, out through the elbow. And just another breath or two, but reach long through the back of the head. Base of the skull, reach it up. And then soften. Let the shoulders soften. Let everything soften. And just from here, bring the knees up and roll to the back. Okay. And when we're ready, we'll head to the other side. So we start with the feet close together, knees touching, hands behind the head, and then drop over to the other side. So coming all the way to the side, knees lined with the hips. We're going to take this top arm away, let the shoulders go down, take the bottom arm away, just hook. So either hook over the top leg. The other interesting place to hold is use this bottom arm to touch the front of both knees. And that gives you a lot of feedback when the knees move. So our gaze is up at the ceiling, the top arm's available. So we'll just reach up. We're going to rotate the whole arm, pressing for the ceiling, and then bring the arm down close to the ear and press to the wall behind you. So the top hip, it wants to move away from that top shoulder. The tailbone tucks a little bit. The neck lengthens. The chin tucks. Okay, this top arm, let's open it outward about 45 degrees. And then finding the angle where the shoulder and shoulder blade feel that they can relax. And they, because they're relaxing, start to sink downward, even though we're gently pressing outward. Okay. When we're ready to leave, soften that upper arm a little bit, bring it up tall, release that lower arm. Now, just to help us set up, we're actually put our hands back under our head again and get right onto the side because this lower arm is going to stay under the head. This upper arm, I'm just going to adjust it. I'm going to put the biceps above my ear. I'm going to put the palm flat on the ground. I'm going to press lightly on the palm. I'm going to push out through the elbow. And I have to monitor that top hip. It moves away a little bit. I want to extend the back of the neck. I'm going to tuck the chin. And then my eyes are going to look for my eyebrows without moving the head. I still want that chin tucked, reaching out the back of the head. And then opening the mouth, the tongue comes out and the tongue reaches for the tailbone. So tuck the tailbone a little bit. Actually, the tongue is going to reach for the navel. Tailbone's a little tucked. So we're trying to create length in a lot of dimensions, a lot of directions. So keep the eyes looking up. Okay, and then we're going to release. So soften the face, soften that upper arm. Just bring that upper hand behind the head as well. Keep the knees touching and come on the back. And once we're on the back, we just want to position the back where we're able to relax it. We want a few breaths with our knees bent. So let the spine relax down. And from here, when we're ready, just let the knees fall outward and then experience the outside edge of the sole of the foot. And then on the right leg, just scrape down long along that outside edge to straighten the leg. And then on the left, the same thing, scrape it out long, let the legs relax. And just let the arms rest on the mat in a comfortable position.